Ooh, passing data in a horrible, horrible format. We've all been there where we've had to do this in the real world, and you just wonder how is it stored this terribly. I wanted to make this as dynamic as possible in my solution. I thought it'd be easier to start with this table here because it was smaller. So what I did was I used the data cleansing tool to first of all remove those null columns. So there's this blank column here to remove and get rid of all the white space. So looking at this, it's quite safe to remove all the white space, any duplicate, because we've just got no spaces in the data that we're trying to get to. It seemed quite a safe thing to do for this particular example. So that's how I started. I used the select records to just say I want row 14 and row 20. And then it's just a simple case of splitting that up on a space, getting rid of that original field and doing a dynamic rename to take the first row into the headers. So that one was nice and simple. It was the other output that we're looking to get that's a little bit more complicated, because what you can see is, for example, we've got headers that are split across 2 rows. We've got some fields contain spaces in them. So for the non-receipt number, for example, how are we also going to get this null for the batch? Ugh. So that's a bit more of a headache to sort out. So first of all, just selecting all the rows that we want here. I initially didn't know that we needed this top row. I think it's just got applied amount in there. That goes with applied amount in transaction currency. I mean, honestly, how are these headers split up like this? It's frustrating, isn't it? So first of all, just got rid of this blank. This time you just use the select tool to get rid of it. And then used a little bit of regex. So this, I maybe did take a little sneaky peek at Phil Mannering's solution. Thank you, Phil. Because I wanted to do this dynamically and I was struggling a bit to think of how to do it. So I thought I'll learn from others, which is totally fine, right? So I decided to use the regex tool after having that sneaky peek to see, okay, so where we have a space that is, 2 or more spaces, so 2 to 17 spaces here, then I want you to replace those spaces with a pipe. Okay, so what you can see here now is that all those spaces now have, where there's like more than one space, has been replaced by a pipe. You can see that where there is just one space, it hasn't been altered, which is really useful for us. For example, with this applied amount in the top row. Okay, and then I just did a little formula tool here to replace the quotation marks in our rows 4 to 6. So there's one quotation mark at the start, one at the end. Get rid of these, please, is basically what that's doing there. So just getting rid of that. And then we split this up on our pipes into those 12 columns. And then you can see the applied amount in transaction currency. That's worked, thank goodness. And everything seems to be lining up correctly. Phew, that's taken a lot of the headache out of it. So then I just get rid of that original data field and then treat them slightly differently. So for my headers and then my data. So for my headers, I'm doing a transpose tool, and then I'm just grouping these together. I probably should have done a filter in between here, shouldn't I, to filter out the empties and the nulls, but I just grouped them all together, concatenated them, and then did a data cleanse to get rid of the extra spaces. So I could have done it one way, I chose to do it this way. Okay, and then just using a data cleansing tool to get rid of the space here, and making sure to get rid of those commas in the numeric fields so that when we do a auto field later, it translates them more easily. And then using our dynamic rename to take the field names from the right input rows. So old field name column is coming from the name here, so that 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 blah. And then our new field name is the concat value here, and that all works out and names them all correctly. And then just auto fielding it to get those commas put back in, so all the data types are updated, doubles, bytes, so on and so forth. And that's how I chose to get to this solution. Hopefully that was straightforward. Hopefully you don't have to work with such horrible data in your real life. And thanks very much for watching.